act only according to that maxim, whereby you can, at the same time, will that it should become a universal law. Science is organized knowledge, wisdom is organized life. Morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration: the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed immaturity. Have the courage to use your own understanding. Thoughts without content are empty. Intuitions without concepts are blind. Experience without theory is blind. But theory without experience is mere intellectual play. The greatest human perfection is the development of reason. Dare to know, all our knowledge begins with experience, but it does not follow that it arises from experience. Immaturity is the inability to use one's understanding without guidance from another. Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made. Live your life as though your every act were to become a universal law. Freedom is the precondition for acquiring the maturity for moral law. Act in such a way that you treat humanity always as an end and never simply as a means. The possession of power unavoidably spoils the free judgment of reason. Metaphysics is a dark ocean without shores or lighthouse, strewn with many a philosophic wreck. The death of dogma is the birth of morality. To be is to do. Autonomy is the basis of the dignity of human nature. Happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination. Reason is the faculty which enables us to act according to principles. And action is morally good if it is done for the sake of duty. Only the descent into the hell of self-knowledge can pave the way to godliness. Genius is the ability to independently arrive at and understand concepts that would normally have to be taught. Space and time are the framework within which the mind is constrained to construct its experience. The reading of all good books is like a conversation with the finest minds of past centuries. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. Morality is not properly the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may become worthy of happiness. Nothing is divine but what is agreeable to reason. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. Laziness and cowardice are the reasons why so great a portion of mankind remains immature. The categorical imperative is the fundamental principle of morality. Treat others not as means to your own ends, but as ends in themselves. We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. Always recognize that human individuals are ends, and do not use them as means to your end. The human mind is by nature architectonic. There can be no doubt that all our knowledge begins with experience. It is beyond a doubt that all our knowledge begins with experience. Enlightenment is when a person leaves behind a state of immaturity. Give me matter, and I will build a world out of it. The mind is structured to interpret reality according to inherent concepts. The understanding does not derive its laws from nature, but prescribes them to nature. All knowledge is limited to our experience. Act in such a way that you always treat humanity as an end in itself. Morality must be based on the autonomy of the will. Virtue is the moral strength of the will in obeying the dictates of duty. Goodwill is the only thing that is good without qualification. Duty is the necessity to act out of reverence for the moral law. The moral law is not a product of human desire, but of pure reason. Ethics is not about happiness, but about worthiness. The only thing that can be called good without qualification is a good will. Beauty is a symbol of morality. The will is a kind of causality belonging to living beings insofar as they are rational. All moral judgments must be universalizable. Reason is the origin of morality. Act as if the maxim of your action were to become, through your will, a universal law of nature. The law of autonomy is the law of morality. Pure reason must never contradict itself. The idea of freedom must be presupposed in every rational being. To will something as a universal law is to be moral. The will is free when it acts according to its own rational laws. Without this sensibility, no object would be given to us. Without understanding, no object would be thought. Human dignity consists in the capacity for moral legislation. Reason requires that we treat each person with equal moral worth. Morality is founded on the rational nature of humanity. The supreme principle of morality is respect for persons. The highest good combines virtue and happiness. The kingdom of ends is the realm of moral law. We must act under the idea of freedom. A rational being must regard itself as the author of the principles it follows. Autonomy is the condition for the possibility of morality. We should act according to principles that could be accepted by all. The value of a person lies in their capacity to choose morally. Respect for law is the basis of morality. Kantian ethics judges the morality of an action based on its principle, not its outcome. We are bound by duty to obey the moral law. All duties arise from the moral law. Ethics is a matter of principle, not emotion. Rational beings are capable of moral responsibility. To act morally is to act from duty, not inclination. The freedom to make moral choices is essential to humanity. The idea of a moral world is necessary for practical reason. We must act as if our actions were to become universal laws. Moral progress is the result of reason. Moral law gives us the dignity of being ends in ourselves. The goodwill shines like a jewel in its own right. Morality cannot be based on empirical interests. The foundation of ethics is reason. Acting from duty gives moral worth to our actions. Autonomy gives humans their intrinsic value. The moral worth of an action lies in its motivation. Only reason can give us moral principles. Freedom and morality are inseparable. The essence of morality is rational self-legislation. The good will acts out of reverence for the law. Human beings have inherent worth because they are moral agents. The moral law within is our guide to right action. To act freely is to act in accordance with moral law. Only actions done from duty have moral value. Rational agents legislate moral law for themselves. Morality presupposes freedom of the will. To be moral is to follow principles we can will universally. All moral beings must be treated with respect. Universal law is the measure of moral rightness. Moral principles must apply equally to all persons. The ends of morality lie in the dignity of rational beings. Practical reason dictates the moral law. The concept of duty arises from the moral law. Virtue lies in acting from respect for the law. The possibility of morality presupposes freedom. Respect for persons is the essence of morality. The autonomy of the will is the source of moral obligation. We are free when we obey the moral law. We give ourselves. Moral law binds all rational beings equally. The basis of ethics is the dignity of rational nature. Morality is not about achieving ends, but following laws. To be moral is to act out of reverence for law. The categorical imperative is the test of moral maxims. Moral duty arises from the nature of rational beings. Rational morality affirms the value of each individual. Moral action is action done from duty. The dignity of humanity consists in its moral capacity. We legislate moral law through reason. The realm of ends is the moral community of rational beings. Freedom is the ground of moral responsibility. To act autonomously is to act morally. The idea of the moral law is the idea of freedom. Humanity is to be treated always as an end,